Hey.
Hello,
As
good
well as
morning.
like we could
So
talk
you
about
said
how
lessons.
why we started this too. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh, and then I think like overarchingly, we wanted to say that one of our biggest lessons this year together was really about surrender and like just surrendering to this crazy ass year and just surrendering to like, you know, business ups and downs and just what everything that life has thrown at us. So, I found these really quick quotes, these little quotes about different definitions of surrender. And I think we both have kind of like mental definitions of surrender, but this really put into words kind of like what, you know, we mentally like categorize surrender as. So I'll read these real quick. So surrender is not passive or weak. Surrender is actively and courageously trusting in and working with something much vaster than yourself. Surrender is saying a non-resistant yes to all of life. Surrender is allowing creation to create through you, not for the end product, but for the high of revealing in the becoming. Surrender is becoming nothing so that you can become everything, and that is surrender. And I really loved the thing about like surrender is becoming nothing so that, you know, you can become everything, because I think that that's really what it is, and it takes a lot of being able to let go. And I think that probably as a collective, as humanity, we've all learned a lot about letting go in 2021, you know, if nothing else. And yeah, what do you think?
How do you feel like something maybe personal for you, like that you had to like you or like really surrender to? Or
For me it was like, I think it was a lot of internal things like that I kind of had to let go of in order to flow with life, you know, in the best way possible. So I think that I really just surrendered my kind of need to rush, put too much pressure on myself, to put too much stress on myself, you know, to get to a certain point or certain goal. Because like, you know, when I set visions, when I set dreams, when I set goals, I always have like the, you know, unshakable faith that these things will happen and that these things will come to pass. But at the same time, I always do end up putting like so much pressure on myself to like get it done at this time, get it done at this point, you know, and go until here. But I think that how, and as we're shifting as a society and moving out of that like hustle, go capitalistic mentality into more flow and ease, like just having that release and having that, you know, abilities to surrender instead of really just like pushing myself to the limit or burning out has definitely been a really strong lesson for me. Like, I think that it's helped just me gain so much inner peace within how I run my business and my life in general. And I think that I'd probably have just driven myself crazy this year if I didn't have the ability to just like let go, chill out, take myself lightly, laugh about things, and surrender, you know?
Love that. And if you're just signing on, like one of the biggest things Brett just mentioned was just like some definitions of surrender. We're talking about our lessons of this year and how surrender was like coming from nothing to become everything and just surrendering to what's available. So I love that you said earlier about, you know, I used to think also when I thought of surrender, like it was like a devotion, or maybe it's like you have to like just let everything happen to you. And it felt more of like a victim, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, how do you do this? How do you just like let everything just be as it is? Like, but this year I really feel like that changed. And what surrender means to me now is what you're saying. It's like full acceptance for the now and like what's happening right now. Because sometimes what we were doing is we're looking at what we have right now, or like the snapshot of what's going on. And we're like, oh, it's like not good. It's like not working and all these things. And the more that we put that energy and cycle into this same moment is like creating more of the same.
Right.
And instead of just like looking for the snapshot of like, oh, this is just like a snapshot of the results of my life. of like the things that I have been thinking, the things that I have been doing, the things that have been going on, and being able to be like, oh, you know, like the next moment can be something else. But like being in full acceptance of this moment allows us to get what we need to get and go to the next moment. So that's one part, like kind of like just logically. And the second part is just it allows me to like more step fully into my life. And I was sharing with Brett before we got on, just my son was a little feeling under the weather and, you know, having some trouble with asthma. And I was not feeling well last week either. And, you know, it's been a couple of times this year that's been like up and down with those types of things. And some points I'm like, I get really frustrated about like all the things I can't do, or like, you know, things that I have to cancel, or what I can't be a part of, or just being a new mom, not being able to do all the things I used to do.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, wow, actually surrendering to what's available to me right now that I'm missing out on because I'm so worried about how it used to be or how I want it to be, instead of actually just living my life.
Right.
Like, and by the time we get to where we want to be, we still are not like living our life like right now.
Right. It's so important.
Yeah, so that's what been the biggest thing. It like comes back to presence, but I feel like the surrender feels so much deeper because it's like in full acceptance. Yeah, they go hand in hand. Yeah. And I think the surrender gives us access to the full presence. That's what it is.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other, I don't think.
Yeah.
And like I think I reread I reread The Power of Now at least one solid good time, but then I would like listen to it again here and there throughout this year, because I really do think that just surrendering to the now is like the only way that I have just like happily and peacefully made it to, you know, this point at the end of the year. And I think that, you know, there were a lot of struggles for me, ups and downs, and like things not exactly working out the I guess I should say in the time frame that I, you know, would have liked them to. But kind of taking a step back from things, like for example, just like the rate I was kind of going at my campaign, you know, from the beginning, it was just so fast, and I just wanted like everything to get done at this point, at this point, at this point. But when I like started to slow down and breathe and really just like see things from the here and now, I had time to really like build and cultivate genuine and authentic partnerships, and more genuine and authentic connections and relationships and community building that I definitely would have skipped over if I just was going so fast, you know? Yeah. And then like, just as you kind of respect and just like ease into and flow with the now moment, I think that, you know, more clarity emerges, and you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, maybe this didn't happen at the timing that I would have liked, but now I have this peace and I have this, it's like it creates this space around you, and this like space of peace, this force field of peace like surrounding you. And even when things are like crazy and up in the air and you don't know what's next, I think that if you have that, you know, piece of the now moment, you know, like nothing can really bother you in the end. Like, what is a problem, you know? But I think that it took a long time to get there. It takes a long time to like let go of that resistance that we all have, you know, that comes with surrendering. I think we all try to hold tightly to our structures and external circumstance, external things and situations and ideas in our heads of how we want things to turn out, you know?
Yeah. What I was thinking of was like, I also read a quote recently. It was like, I think it's from this book called 1 Month to Live. And it was a book club that I did a long time ago, but I just remember I just like flipped through some stuff yesterday, and I was like, read this quote, and it was like, everyone dies, but not everyone lives. And it just is so resonant to like, you know, when you're chasing, when you're doing all of those things and like not paying attention to what's happening, it's like you're not there. You're completely not there, and you miss it. So that's the first part. And the second part was like the dualities. I think we've talked about this before, but this is one of my profound lessons, was like just the dualities. You're saying like some stuff was really hard. Like this year was really hard in so many cases, and some stuff was really great. And I've said this a couple of times on our lives, but just the more we're trying to like speed through a process, like a season of our lives, like speed through this season, like, oh my God, this is not the best holiday. This is not the best holidays. Like, I wish I had more money. I wish I had this. I wish I had a partner. I wish I had all of these things. And we want to speed through it so fast that we miss the things that are like also are going to change, that we're not going to be able to ever come back to. Like some of the moments we had with our friends. So me and Brett have been best friends and known each other forever, since high school. I mean, since high school. I mean, since college. But like, you know, the season where like our friends were like meeting up like every weekend and having those times, it was like so great. It was like, oh my God, some of that like you want to get back, you know? And just remembering like, dang, I didn't like take a moment to like just be there, you know? I was so worried about like work, or I was like, you know, sometimes I joke about like, sometimes we're also so in our phones and we're like talking to the people that are not in the room with us. Right. And then when we're in the room with the people that we were talking to on the phone, we're talking to the other people that are not in the room. Not present. Again. Yeah. Yep. And it's like a cycle, and we're just like actually never there. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of the lessons have been like fully being there, not only for like the moment, but the season, noticing the things that are changing and enjoying the things that are not going to come back either. So it's like living with those dualities, being able to hold both things at the same time.
Well, because when you do that, and when you can, you know, be in the moment, then I think you do remember to be grateful, you know? And I think that even in business, I think that you can really like be present, be still, and then you're like, wait a minute, you know, like I am so grateful for all the things that I have accomplished, and, you know, where I'm at. And, you know, like for me personally, I remember just like sitting back and thinking just like, wow, you know what, like I've created so much art. Like I have like enough art to fill like a huge, ginormous space. And I've done like all this work over the years, and I have like, you know, all this amazing community support, whatever you have, you know. I think that when you can like appreciate the now moment, breathe into it, and be here now, then you can be like, wow, you know what? I do have so much to be thankful and grateful for. And that snaps you back into peace, that snaps you back into, you know, the now moment. But I think that, yeah, when we are rushing, when we're too like mentally hooked on like loops of accomplishments, loops of when I need this idea, this like picture in my mind, oh, I need this now, and I need that now, and I need this amount now, then we just, I think that this year we've learned that we miss so many things that way. And the beauty and the peace in life really come in like slowing down and accepting what is usually just right in front of us. You know, a lot of times the answers, what we're looking for, what we're chasing and running around for, are usually just like right here with us and within us the whole time.
Yeah, that's so good. Actually, we got a couple of questions from Eva, if you're still on, or if you listen back to this. If you're still on, let us know. Put in the comments. But she was saying, especially when starting a new business and fully immersing myself, not listening to family's limitations, and
that's a big one.
9 to 5. Like, that's a good question. But she simplifies it here. She's like, how do you surrender to immediate family judgments? So
that's a huge one. Yeah. I dealt with that a lot this year, I think. And well, I would say just like the final release of that, you know, because I think that you can get to a space like where you're like, you know, my family opinions don't bother me or whatever. But, you know, it just depends how like subconscious their opinions have really gotten into your psyche, and like how deep they really are in there. Because I noticed that like, wow, you know, I kind of like let go of that mental projection of like negativity that my family has spread. I still was carrying it like deep down, like within my body, within my subconscious. So I had to really, you know, address those issues and be like, why do I still have that, like, you know, those inner voices in the way back of my head saying that like I can't do this, or like, you know, that I'm not good enough, or whatever it might be. For me to kind of like unravel that, finally, I did a lot of deep meditation this year. I did a lot of like hypnosis, not in the weird, like, you know, like that kind of hypnosis way, but in a kind of like meditative hypnosis way. And it really just like helped me unravel those limiting beliefs within my mind and get to a point where I could just like, you know, just completely detach from them and make decisions that weren't in any form based on like those old decaying limiting thoughts, you know, because they can just live in your subconscious. And I think that when you do deep meditative work, then you tap into the subconscious thoughts that might have like been, you might have been suppressing somewhere or buried somewhere, or that you might have just forgot, you know? Yeah, exactly. Detachment is a huge thing, another lesson of the year for sure. And yeah. I think that once you can detach, it helps you detach from those thoughts when you do that subconscious work. Also writing them out is a great way to drop them on the page, detach and leave them. Leaving, yes. You know, yoga, releasing it there, leaving it on the mat. Whatever ways you can really like detach from those, you know, old decaying mental loops, you know, is amazing. But it's just like, it's a process, and it really just takes time. And it's like, but the more you do it, it's like one day you wake up and that annoying, like nagging, you know, thought of limitation or doubt isn't in your system anymore. And I think that has been a huge blessing and takeaway of the year, like to really break those generational kind of trauma or generational curse, whatever you want to call it, chains of that limitation, just being able to kind of like cut through those with all the inner work that I've really done this year. So I think, you know, just using various methods, journaling, hypnosis, meditation, community, talking it out, really helps.
Yeah, those are all really, really good, especially some things to do on your own and like process through it. Oh, and I have some other things for you. So I would say like something that I would recommend for myself and my own clients, like kind of what I have really turned to now is like noticing what is like triggering you out of the judgments that are coming. So our world is a reflection of us, right? And like what you probably say to yourself is worse than what your family could say to you. So it's like, what part of it that they're saying like is triggering, you know? And some of it also doesn't have to do with you. Yes. You know, some has to do with their own like limitations, what they believe is possible. And some of it is actually just their protection, because they don't know, they're scared, they haven't done something like that. You know, they don't want you to go through any pain. But when I think about like, oh, like who's not supporting me, I think about like, oh, well, how much do I believe? How much do I support myself or invest in myself in this area? How am I showing up in others in my full belief? Because if you're showing up in your solid belief, like there's not a lot of things that can come against that, right? So but true. If you're coming in, you're showing up and there's a little bit of hesitation, then somebody sees that and they're like, no, like I want to protect you, like you shouldn't do this.
So true.
You know, so it's just noticing and letting it be what it is. So part of like, so if you think about it as energy also, right? And like somebody says something that's negative, you can like lash out, or you can be like, no, that's not true. Or it's like, whoa, how much energy are you actually saying that it's not even you're saying on a truth level, but how much energy are you giving to that statement at that moment? It's a lot of energy. But if somebody says something, blah, 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 and you're like, oh, I could see how you would think, you know, I could see how you could see that, or I could see how maybe you would see it that way from your viewpoint. It's like, oh, wow. Like it just feels like a dissipation. Like, whew,
yes.
That's so different.
And
it's like no energy, no extra fire to that thing.
Yeah, so, it made me think also that extra energy and that extra fire. Also, just make sure that, you know, when you feel that or whatever, scan your body and, you know, and like really pay attention to how your gut is feeling. And like,
that's a good one.
Yeah. Like when you're saying, you know, like I believe in myself, or I believe I can do this. I believe I can achieve A, B, and C. See how that feels like in your gut, because that will tell you if you really believe it or not, you know? And so I learned how to body scan this year really well, and feel into that to remove and move around, you know, like ways in which I actually realized that I maybe wasn't fully believing in myself, but like it was deep embedded, you know, in my body, in my subconscious. So when you feel into that energy and those emotions, you can move it around by like addressing it. Because when you can address that you have an awkward feeling there, it like Stacey was saying, you know, it dissipates. It can transmute.
Yeah, I love that. I love the body scanning and just like noticing where is it triggering in your body, like where is it feeling? Yeah, where are you feeling the most energy? And we're gonna wrap up soon, which is so sad because this is our last. Our last live
but
for
I
the
was just
year.
gonna say,
And
check
I'm just gonna read
out.
this. Yeah, let's see.
Oh yeah, read
I'm a
that.
new mom, and they see my time should be going only to my son, 100% of it. So me working my business on my phone, they assume I'm talking to men. Oh, I understand that so much. Like, just, I mean, as a new mom and business, and what are you doing on your phone? And you could be just like scrolling on Instagram or doing all the other things and not working on your business. And I also could recognize my own guilt, like my own guilt of what comes up. So, you know, really noticing that for yourself, like something that used to happen to me is that I would like take time doing work or doing whatever I was doing, and I knew that my son is with my husband or with my mom or somebody else. And when I show up back to get him, or to like, okay, like I'm done doing what I'm doing, like I felt so guilty that they were like having to take care of him and whatever. And like there was a moment that I switched that. I don't know if this helps, but this is just like kind of what comes up. The moment I switched that to, oh my God, like I'm showing up each time in guilt, like showing up guilty that I needed this time. Yeah. And like I switched it one day. I was like, oh my God, I show up back to get him in appreciation instead of guilt. Like it just is like such a change in my own emotions and my body. Just like, oh my God, guys, hi, thank you for being with him. Like I get to be with him now, and just like appreciative over the time, appreciative over like whatever is available. And that just like really changed my energy, because like when I showed up in guilt, they're like, oh yeah, like dang, like you could have came like sooner, or like all this stuff. I'm just like, oh yeah, such a different feeling for myself.
A perception,
you know, for myself
shift.
First.
Yeah, it's like it changed the channel in your mind.
Yes.
But yeah, I think definitely check out our reading list. You can go to the Fempreneur Friday Instagram, and we have books that really have helped navigate us through all of the things that we've just talked about. So check that out for sure. And we really want to talk about mompreneurness and just like being a solopreneur also, how those differentiate, and like how we both struggle with each. So maybe the next one, you know, in the new year, we'll discuss that. But thanks so much for your questions, Eva.
Appreciate that. Hi, Vicki. So we're wrapping up. This is our last Fempreneur Friday for the year. Just wishing everybody a happy holiday. Enjoy. Set your intentions for the new year. But really, if we learned and talked about anything else, it's really about just like being fully present, being in your body, surrender to what's happening, like surrender to your own life. Like this is your life. Enjoy it, or, you know, like say yes to what's actually in front of you, and notice the dualities, like knowing that everything changes, like the good and the bad will change. So don't miss out on the good just because you want to rush through the season.
All is temporary.
Yeah. So also, if you haven't, we are going to start having our Fempreneur Friday, our circles, like circles of entrepreneur women. So feel free to, you know, get back on our Discord just so you can be connected. You can get on the live Zooms with us when we're doing that on once a month, every Friday. I mean, once a month we'll do it, and we'll tell you on the Fridays, but twice a month we'll be here doing our lives for Fempreneur Friday next year.
Yes, and catch us on Instagram at Fempreneur Friday. And yeah, we'd love to connect with each and every one of you. And happy holidays. We hope you get the best, you know, have the most love, most abundance, best wishes. Love you guys all.
Love you. Thank you for being with us this year.
All right.
Okay, bye, guys.
Everybody.